Hello, my peeps of Patreon. Welcome back. So we're doing things out of order today because of course I am. So I do have my new ring light, so enjoy this epicness going back on. I now also have a button because the new one has a Bluetooth option for your camera. Well, at least your phone. Because this also can let me put my camera up there. So when I get brave enough to try that fun journey again, we'll try it. For now though, I at least can Bluetooth my phone and hit record whenever I want. So, that said, if you don't know, retrograde, it's a thing. So yeah, retrograde has been rough this time, and one of the things is that I didn't read things greatly. So I read through chapter 4, read through it completely, and then I was like, I gotta do the exercises. So I was kind of thinking that it was gonna be like the previous chapter, where all of the exercises are just like lumped together into one big thing to do. No, they're not. So I only did track 2 this whole time for like 2 weeks. And then today I sat down and I was like, man, I'm already on exercise 20, way to go me. It doesn't feel like I've done that many. I feel like I must have skipped some. Maybe it wasn't on the CD, which is kind of lame. No. See, it's also track 3 and then the next CD, track 1. We've got 3 of them to do. I've done 1 of them. So I've done the mental projection and correspondences, which is exercise 13 and 14 a bunch of times. I still need to do 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. So that'll be next week because I need to do all of those. And so, ooh. Also, I have my, this thing. This is what that noise is in the background. If it won't move. It's a sheet music holder thingy. It was my tripod last week until this one showed up. And it didn't work, and I didn't live it, and I don't think I'm gonna keep the videos that I tried to record with it because it just wasn't working. Because, again, retrograde. I've come to realize that, like, I need to record and do things in advance so that during that time I am not actively doing a lot because everything wants to break. So, like, I actually pulled out Silver Ravenwolf's book and I was like, listen, I need you to tell me what to do. And it was like, don't like start new projects, but like maybe just edit. So if you have like old written stuff, work on that. Maybe avoid computers and stuff. And I'm like, fair. So from now on, whenever the retrogrades come around, especially Mercury, it is the time for editing, not the time for writing, not the time for video recording, because I'm gonna have to be prepared and have all of that done and scheduled and ready to go because no, I am not playing the game. I give. So, all of that said, naturally, I skipped all of those because whoopsies. So I read chapter 5. So that's what we're gonna talk, or not chapter, but lesson 5. We're gonna talk about that today because, yeah. We'll talk about exercises for lesson 4 next time, and then chapter 5 as well, because whoopsies. So, thankfully, chapter 5, it only has like one thing to do, really. I think it's track 2, the protection shield, and it's just its own thing. So we got that going for us. And then also I'll be reading the recommended book to go with that chapter, which is The Witch's Shield, which I do have over in my TBR pile. So yeah, got stuff happening. But for this particular chapter, lesson 5, I thought it was kind of interesting. I liked a lot of the things from it. And in it, he talked about the idea of like what harm none really looks like and like kind of the ethics and stuff involved in witchcraft and like when to defend. And I don't totally agree with him, but also maybe I will in the future. Like I get it, but like also no. So basically his thing is like, yeah, to be defensive, you send them love and light. And I don't agree with that. I think there is, and like, here's the thing. With witchcraft and in life in general, I've found that as I've worked more with the Norse pantheon and with the Norse gods, specifically Thor and Odin, I find myself going, there's some gray area. And I don't know if that's just like a Norse thing, but I feel like it is. And maybe it's just my experience. I don't know if other people have had this, but like the idea of just send love and light back to this person doesn't jive well. Because I don't care what you're going through. You don't need to take it out on other people, intentionally or otherwise, you know? And so it's just one of those things that it's like, he kind of, in the book, he condones the idea of like, send their energy back at them, because like, then you're just gonna make things worse and like, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe sometimes work on conduits of karma, you know? Like, you know, you're putting bad out, maybe I'm sending it back at you. And it's not necessarily that I'm out here like giving people bad energy, but like, I'm cool with the idea of, you send me bad stuff, I send all of that back at you, because not my problem. And also setting up protective boundaries so that if you come near me, it's like, you know, a thorn bush, you're gonna get hurt. Stay away. Like, do not, you know, don't go past, stop. And he really condones that. And I'm like, that's fine for you, but no, for me, because there's just been so many times that it's like, you know, taking the higher road doesn't necessarily get you where you need to be in life. And sometimes you do need to be very protective, not attacking them, but just setting up a clear boundary of no. And having boundaries and respecting your boundaries and defending them isn't a bad thing. And like, I kind of come back to the idea of like, don't start a fight, but you're allowed to end it. And in a, not gonna send them bad things, not gonna do bad things, but you know, and he talked about this in the chapter of like, you know, one, it's hard to, because I read this chapter and then I read his other book, Casting of Spells, at the same time. So I'm like, which one was it? So if I mention something and I say it's from this chapter and like it wasn't in there, it's probably from the other book, because I read them simultaneously. Anywho, but like the idea of just sending love and light to this other person just doesn't jive with me. And I know it was in Casting of Spells, he talked about like, you would do things in your real life, like don't do things magically that you wouldn't do in real life. So like, you wouldn't go out and randomly kill somebody, right? Big example, but still. But you wouldn't magically do that either for that reason. And he also talked about how like, you know, you would follow law, basically. And I was like, laws are super subjective to where you live and in what time frame you live. Because even in like my mom's lifetime, there was still a lot of like segregation stuff kind of going on. Legality was like squishy at best on it. You know, 60s was still, we were coming really hard out of the racism eras. And then you have like, it was illegal up until my lifetime for same-sex couples to get married. So, you know, it's like, I don't totally agree with laws and being like, well, if it's legal in your area, because it's like, have you seen laws in the other parts of the world? Those are sketch. Some of them are awful, because you can totally kill somebody because they happen to be gay, or you can kill someone for practicing witchcraft, which they probably weren't. And journalism can get you killed. Like, it's a scary world out there, and some of those, it's totally legal where they're at. So it's like, I don't love the idea of being like, but laws, they've changed over the years, and I'm sure they will continue to change. Some for the good, some for the not great. And so it's one of those where I'm like, I still fall into like the causing harm thing. Like I would never actively go and kill somebody, but if it came down to like a fight and doing things to protect myself, I will do those things to protect me and those around me. And if you continue to impede, you know, it's like if your house is getting broke into, you're allowed to defend your home, right? Same thing magically. You're coming into my space, I'm gonna get you out. And you're gonna have, you know, repercussions of it. That's more of where I stand in defensive magic. And it's like, you know, I'm going into a family, you know, I'm getting married in a couple months, and that him and his mom were 100% cursed, and we've still found items years later that are from those same people that cursed them. They were magic people, they were witches, whatever label they used, and they 100% did it to curse them and to screw their life up. They did it for whatever reasons, but they also did a lot of drugs and stuff, these other people, and when you're in poverty, sometimes it's hard to focus on good things and you focus on bad things, and drugs also alter your mind and you're not always in the best place mentally to do things. So, you know, coming into that, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna set up more protective boundaries to be sure there's no lingering effects. And if you're trying, you can get it back at you. You know, like, I'm not about like, well, I'll send them love and light so that, you know, if it comes back to me, and I'm like, no, if I'm hurting somebody, tell me I'm hurting somebody so I can change my ways. Not send me love and light. Tell me the problems. And like, I struggle with that, but also like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like with the Norse deities that I work with, they're just like, nah, it's cool, man. Like, protect your own. Don't actively go out and cause chaos. You know, don't go out and harm things. But also you can defend yourself, and defending yourself might mean that other person gets hurt and they might get their energy back at them. So that was a huge part of this chapter that I really didn't love. Because again, I'm not about this idea of love and light and all of that all the time. Again, I'm not actually going out there cursing, but it's like, there is a time and a place for bad things to happen to bad people. If you intentionally hurt somebody, karma's gonna come at you one way or the other, and I'm okay encouraging karma to give you back what you deserve. Because I'm okay with karma giving me back what I deserve. Because I'm out here trying to do better and put good things out into the world and do better and all of these things. So maybe that's the way he kind of looks at it too, but in a different way, I don't know. But yeah, that was like my main takeaway. And also the idea of like, for your highest good, and like verbiage and stuff can be really important, because like, yeah, totally. You know, harm is really hard to pinpoint, because like changing jobs, that is causing harm. Because now that employer doesn't have a place where there once had been an employee, they got to find somebody else. That causes harm, either short-term or long-term, depending on how it goes. But, you know, for the highest good aspect is like, maybe you're unhappy now and it's not good for them in the moment, but long-term they're going to find somebody who fits better, who's happier there and wants to be there, and, you know, better teamwork environment. Whereas you can go off and do what makes you happy, and you can add more happiness and joy into the world and all of that. And so it's kind of, I love the idea of like higher good. Doesn't always mean there's no harm, but like the least amount of harm to be involved. And so like that part of the chapter I really loved. And I think I talked about this, but I recorded like half of this and then I had to stop, and then I came back and just started over. So I can't remember if I mentioned it in this take or if it was the last one. But I've been reading his book, Casting of Spells, so if something in here I mentioned doesn't line up with this chapter, it was in that book, because I read them like at the same time. Because it is a really small book. Like, I have it right here ready for the book review to talk about next. Like, it is a teeny tiny little book. So if it came from here, I'm sorry. But I can't remember if it was from this book or that book, but he also talked about like clear intent. And that was another thing that kind of came up. And again, I don't know if it's from this book or this book, so you should probably read both. But I'm just going to talk about it here. So for clear intent, me and my fiance had a long conversation about that, because I wanted to run some things off of him and be like, listen, witch brain activated. I need you to like help me witch through this. And we talked about a lot of things. We talked about some things that I've been trying to manifest, and like how things have been going, and this frickin' retrograde, and then Pluto in retrograde, and all of these things going on. And we talked a lot. And one of the things that came up was from, again, one of these two. And it was talking about clear intent. And that you need to be able to, I think it was from the Casting of Spells, but it's still, whatever, we're talking about it. But it's talking about, you know, you have to have, like, to know that you have, like, the true intent and, like, the clear intent is to be able to visualize, like, a full day of whatever you're trying to manifest. And I told him, I'm like, I've done that. I've really done that. I have been able to visualize my life in explicit detail down to, you know, what type of house I'm living in, to like what kind of light fixtures and outlets are going to be in this house. And I can visualize that whole process. But the thing is that, and again, I'm pretty sure it's from that book, but the moral of the story is like the clear intent needed to come down to also realistic stuff, which kind of pulls into the art of defense. Because for me, like, the whole concept is just kind of pulling away like the Hollywood side of it and just being like making it realistic, if that makes sense. Because, in doing witchcraft and in doing things, like, it is super hard to just expect things to work the way they do. So kind of pulling back, like for my example with him and the clear intent, I told him, you know, how I had visualized my life. And in reality, I'm like pretty much where I'm supposed to be for that. And the reality is, like, I wanted to believe that it could be possible. But the thing is it's like, it didn't feel obtainable no matter how much I could visualize it all happening. And like the law of attraction crowd really discredits that part of it a lot. And so for me, the clear intent also had to be grounded in reality. Like, realistically, how could that happen? Because I would love to be a New York #1 bestseller of whatever book that I've written and have a movie deal lined up and have a bunch of books selling crazy amounts, millions a month. That would be awesome. But like, you know what? Probably not realistically gonna happen anytime soon. Not everyone is gonna be the next J.K. Rowling or Stephanie Meyer. Most of us are gonna be like these indie authors that you see that they have a decent following. They do it full time, but you're not necessarily gonna know any of them, you know? Like, there are so many authors out there. They have their dedicated readers, and you might still pick up their books here and there, but they're not like a household name like Stephen King, you know? And so it was like me and him talking about like this clear intent also has to be grounded in like reality and like what realistically could happen. And so kind of pulling back to this book with Defense, to me it also came down to realistically, what am I sending back out to them? Because are they sending bad luck my way? Cool, bad luck can happen to you however it's going to happen to you. Whatever energy, I just reflect it right back out to you. If you're trying to impede in my space, like, more bad things are going to happen to you in whatever way it needs to. And it's not like manifesting like you're gonna get in a car accident, but like you spill your coffee on your way to work, or, you know, just like a series of unfortunate events starts to happen. And of course it's retrograde, so like of course that's gonna happen for the next like couple days till it's freaking done. But, you know, and I'm probably not making this sound terribly great because, again, retrograde specifically right now with Mercury loves to mess up your words and communications. But I wanted to get this recorded. And so that was like the majority of what I got from this chapter, and obviously a little bit extra because, of course. But anywho, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. How's this chapter going for you? How did the last one go? I would love to hear how that went because whoopsies. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. And oh, I get to use my button. I don't even have to go and boop my phone. I have the handy dandy little clicker, dude. So I can hit the iOS thing and then I can end it. It's so magic. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all soon.